was me doing tomorrow's homework today. Hey, hi, hello. Reference joke. It's me again, Emily. So anyway, this is the end of the week, and this week was the first week, the second trimester. That was fun. Not. Actually, I guess it was okay. I quite enjoyed changing classes because at the beginning of the trimester, class is always easier. I hate the beginning of the trimester because I'm at the end of the last trimester, and I liked the last trimester. I really did. A lot. The first trimester, my first hour was seminary, which was pretty awesome because, first of all, I wasn't in one of those classes where just because it was first hour everyone was tired. All the kids in the class didn't just sort of sit there like vegetables, actively engaged in class. And I like to be actively engaged, but if other people are actively engaged, then I don't feel like I should disrupt everybody in the class. Also, I liked First Hour Seminary because my teacher was pretty awesome, Brother Anderson. He was probably one of my favorite seminary teachers that I've had because he was the kind of teacher that got off topic, but the topic that he got off on wasn't off topic. We'd be talking about something and a kid in our class would make a weird connection. I make a lot of weird connections, as we made connections everywhere that I got to share my connections, and our teacher would, instead of saying, oh, well, that's nice, that's a good way to look at it, he'd be like, oh, well, what was going on to make you think that way? And I like that compared to this trimester's seminary class. Brother Berger, he's funny, like extremely funny. I can hardly control my fits and laughter in his class, and he was one of those teachers who were like, yeah, that's a cool connection. It's okay that he's so focused on going forward with his lesson. I learn more with the random subjects we get off on. So while he's funny, with Brother Anderson, when he wanted to make a joke, he would be talking about the subject, and then he would make his joke, throwing it out there, and then everyone would laugh, and he's like, oh yeah, it's funny, and then he would keep going. It was sort of smooth. With Brother Berger, he just sort of stops, and you can tell he's about to say something, then he says it, and then we all sit there laughing, but you can't get back onto the subject. He's just like, oh, that's funny. It's not that he's not funny, because he is extremely funny. His Brother Anderson had more of a clever funniness, and I really liked Brother Anderson. My second hour for first trimester was human biology. Human biology is pretty good. I have the same teacher, Mr. Cox, as I did in the 7th grade for integrated science. He was working at the intermediate school. In the 7th grade I had him as a teacher, and then this year he came to the high school and he's my human biology teacher, and he's a really good teacher. I have the same class with the same teacher, so I'm fairly certain that it will be the same. We would talk about different things, but you know, same teacher. I like Mr. Cox because science teachers, they're really geeky and they get so excited over their subject. He got absolutely obsessed with the Guinness Book of World Records. You know he had found something. He would have his book sitting in a cleared spot on his desk. So he had pushed all of the papers away and then put it in the middle, and then just be sort of looking at it, and the bell would ring, and then he'd just sort of look up, and then he'd get this smile on his face and be like, I found something. It's funny. He would say his joke, and then he'd be like, ha, I made a joke. It's funny. But then he would sort of look up. There were 5 of us who would laugh at all of his jokes, and he'd be like, oh, someone got my joke. Yes. Third hour is always orchestra. Orchestra is always third hour. Orchestra is the best. There's nothing else you can say. Orchestra will always kick butt. Always. My 4th hour for first trimester was Ancient World Civilizations, and I had the football coach, which is weird because he's the football coach, yet he is a history major. His class, I like history classes. With all the history or geography classes I've had, they've been sort of you have the teacher and they say, okay, do section 4.3 and do the review at the end, and every day we would do a different section, and that's basically what we did the class. And my last year's geography class was like that. My teacher gave us a list of assignments, and he said these assignments are due at the end of the trimester, and I almost failed that class because I couldn't make myself do it. It was just really hard. For World Civ didn't have any deadlines, really didn't have any due dates, so I had a hard time motivating myself to do it. The class was the class that I read in. Of course, then I was really good for the month of November because the month of November is National Novel Writing Month, and I had to write a certain amount of words each day. And so in that class, I would get my work done really fast, and then I would, as long as I could keep myself motivated, but I'd be sort of like, I can't write or I can't read until I finish my work. I defend for myself, which I don't like doing, because I like it when teachers tell me to do stuff, and then I do it, instead of them saying, here's a whole ton of free time, be productive, and then you're like, what the heck? So 5th hour was math. I did better in algebra than I did in geometry. Last year in geometry, I got a D-, because math it's hard. The fact that you have to do the 30 math problems, I have to do the same equation 10,000 times, and after a while it gets boring. I learn how to do the problem after like the first 3 problems, and I would not get my assignments finished. I wouldn't necessarily not do them. I would do them until I got tired of them, and then I wouldn't finish my assignments, so I got really low scores. Last trimester in algebra, I really liked my teacher, Mrs. Jones, because she's one of those teachers that moved quickly. We didn't have a lot of time in math, and so we had to like skip all the review units. We were constantly learning new stuff. And because of this, my teacher, Mrs. Jones, she explained it once, she answered questions for the people who were still confused, and then she moved on. The homework she gave it to us one day, and it was due 2 days later. So you still had that extra day, and it's like this nice little cushion thing. I could work on it until I got tired of it the first day, and then the second day I could work on the rest, and it worked out. And then 6th hour was my English class. Besides orchestra and seminary is my favorite subject. English classes, I mean, no matter how stupid the teacher is, English classes are usually pretty enjoyable anyway. But I was wrong. My teacher, she's probably a very nice lady, I guess. She bit your head off. She told us the rule of only having 3 exclamation points after things, and then when she had like 10 on the board, oh, that doesn't follow the rule, and she would get really, really pissed off at us. Major superiority complex. With English, it's like a circle. Math homework. Pencil. See, you start in kindergarten, you start to learn how to read, and it's a little circle. Then, through elementary school, you make your little bigger and bigger, and then by high school, you're not learning as much out here. It's growing less. But every year, you don't just learn what's new. You're learning all of this stuff, but in more bigger, you know, more sophisticatedly mature, whatever you want to call it, ways and stuff. Lost my page. I always have someone awesome in my English class. This time I had my friend Leslie. She's like smarter than I am. So I was like, yes, Leslie is in my class. So Leslie and I are sitting in there, and we're learning about prepositions, and we learned about prepositions in the 8th grade and the 9th grade. And so this year we're like, okay, prepositions, we know what prepositions are. But we had to like completely relearn the unit because kids in our class were like, what the heck is a preposition? And then they'd get all confused. And by this time, people swear, there was this one girl in my class, and she's like, what the heck is a verb? Really? Really? It took about 10 minutes explaining this to her. It's not that hard. She has her light bulb moment. She's like, oh my word, I understand. And we got in trouble because we were like, oh my word, you understand. After 10 years of learning English, you understand what a verb is. Good job. Apparently teachers don't like sarcasm very much. Everybody learns at different speeds. 10 years, people. Really? With reading books in English, the point is that you learn something of either moral or English conceptual value. You're supposed to learn something. That's why we're reading these things. You know, the psychopathic bad guys in movies, and you're like, oh, that's crazy that that person would think like that, but real people in real life don't think like that. I was totally, completely blown away by the kids in my class were thinking the same way as the stupid people. What? I just have a really hard time when other kids my age can't see what's going on. They don't understand why something happens. And I'm like, it's freaking obvious. Why don't you understand? And it's something I cannot